I think it's my favorite show in the entire time we've been on the air. The Denver Broncos are playing the Pittsburgh. If you haven't heard, if you played the part of the Martian in the recent movie, you might not know that the Denver Broncos are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Mark Kiszla and I have so much to talk about and so little time to talk about it. So let's get right to the big stuff.
Will our man Gary Kubiak play to win or not to lose? Antonio Brown, Steelers wide receiver, ruled out. Pac-Man, you owe him an apology. Can the Steelers compensate for the loss of Brown? And we'll pick all 4 of the divisional games in the NFL.
And we'll save to the very last of those 4 not only what team is going to win the game here in Denver on Sunday, but what the exact score is going to be. Because you and I will make a bet of a Dr. Pepper, or you will have to go get the popcorn. We take turns getting the popcorn in the press box. You'll have to go get the popcorn, or I'll have to get it. You have to bring the Tic Tacs, or I have to bring them.
Okay.
I bring Tic Tacs of different colors. He usually brings some white ones, some plain white ones. I bring orange ones. Brought Diet Coke Tic Tacs last week. You didn't try it at San Diego game? Let's start this out. Well, Gary Kubiak, has he, because they're not waiting till now to decide a game plan, has Greg Knapp, Peyton Manning, Gary Kubiak, and Rick Dennison designed a game plan that's intended to be aggressive? I'm going to twist this. Aggressive, all-out kind of game plan, or is it going to be a continuation of play conservative, win the game?
I think it'll be a continuation of play conservative, win the game. I think they know that with Peyton Manning, you have to pick your spots. You have to give him a good opportunity to make a big play rather than say, go out and win the game. I think they also know with an offensive line that hasn't been very good, it's a little harder to play aggressively on offense. And the third thing is, I think the Broncos have 80-85% chance of winning this game. And I think the coaches know that too. And when you there's only a 20% chance you can lose, I think the tendency is, the human nature is to minimize your risk rather than to go all out. Defensively, I think they will play pretty aggressive.
Let me take you back and let me straighten you out.
Okay.
What was the best game the Broncos have played all year? Full game.
Green Bay Packers.
If I remember correctly, and I have gone back and looked this morning, that was an aggressive game plan. If you think about it. Peyton Manning was at his best that night. It was after a bye week, Mark Kiszla.
Mm-hmm.
There was a relatively healthy Peyton Manning. They threw the ball effectively. They set up the running game with the pass game. They went deep. They got 2 pretty quick scores against the Packers, and they played aggressively against a great quarterback at that time, Aaron Rodgers, and they had a great aggressive game plan against him to rush upfield and keep him in the pocket. I think that we're going to see a different Gary Kubiak offense in that they will go deep against the 30th ranked pass defense in the NFL. I think they will test a safety who is still hobbled. I think they'll test cornerbacks that are not that good. I think they will concentrate on keeping the tight ends in against a very good pass rush. I think they will do that early. I sat in bed I lie in bed last night. No, well, I didn't lie to anybody. I lie in bed last night, and I thought, on the first play of the game, they're going to go deep to Demaryius Thomas.
No way, no how.
So
you're going to owe me Tic Tacs from the first snap.
And popcorn.
Yes.
I think the Broncos are going to play very aggressively against a wounded warrior Pittsburgh Steelers team.
The Green Bay Packers had the worst game plan against the Denver Broncos I have seen in the last 3 years. They played soft in the middle in the secondary. You play tight in the middle and make Peyton throw it long, deep, and outside. That's what you dare him to do that. And Indianapolis did it, and Adam Gase tried to take advantage of it in the playoffs a year ago, and they looked foolish, quite frankly.
But let me tell you, you know more than the Pittsburgh Steelers. You've learned over the years. Did you start out in this business? I'm going to take you astray for a second. Did you start out, as I did, thinking, oh, the coaches know a lot more than I do?
I was arrogant from the start.
From the start.
Yes, they don't. They don't. I mean, do they know technique better? Do they know the playbook better? Yes, they do. And I've always believed this. All sports is about exploiting space and what space you can exploit. Basketball, hockey, soccer, football. And I know that as well as any coach out there. Thank you.
John Fox was smart enough to say, always to me, it's a game of matchups.
Right.
He
Exploit
said,
the space where they're weak.
Exploit, okay.
Hit them where they ain't.
You're in the press box, you're an assistant coach, you see a cornerback being taken off the field. You exploit whoever comes into that game. That's what you do the whole game. You and I are in total agreement about that. Antonio Brown has been ruled out. He is in the concussion protocol. Despite his Instagram saying, I think I'm going to practice, he's out. D'Angelo Williams still in a walking boot. He hadn't practiced all week. Can the Steelers compensate with a guy named Sammy Coates, a guy named Darius Haywood Bay, who was run out of the Bay Area, if you will, with two running backs that nobody really has ever heard of that played pretty well against Cincinnati? Are they going to be able to overcome an Antonio Brown who got 40% of their pass catches this year, more than Bryant and Wheaton combined, and they've lost their two outstanding running backs, Bell early, D'Angelo Williams late? Are they going to be able to run the football? Are they going to be able to get enough out of their wide receivers to compensate for those losses?
I'm going to go basketball on you for a second and sports philosophy. Doug Moe used to believe if the other team had lost a really important player for one game, that other team pulls in the ranks and circles the wagons and all does all that kind of stuff, and they might actually be more dangerous. I like the theory, but not in this case. Antonio Brown's too essential. They're down to their third and fourth running backs. They've lost too much, and Ben Roethlisberger is hurt. Wow, if the Broncos lose against this team, woo, buddy.
Broncos are 15-5 at home.
Yeah.
We tend to think of them of late, losing to Baltimore, losing to Indianapolis. They're not overlooking this team. No. Can they compensate? No, they cannot. Brian is a great talent. Made a butt catch last week. Made probably the best catch of all year in the end zone. Wheaton kind of comes and goes. Bryant now moves into the starting lineup. He's a great backup wide receiver. They've been effective all year long when they could go to 4 or 5 receivers. They can't go to 4 or 5 receivers, Mark Kiszla. They can put in, I'm sorry, if you put in your 4th and 5th, actually the 4th and 5th running backs, you're not going to be able to replace guys that are all-pro or acted and played like all-pros at the end of the season. No, we don't know whether Roethlisberger is 70%, 80%, 90%. We know he's not 100%. Let's say that he's 75%. I think that's a good number to go with. You got him at 75%. He's got to protect that arm throughout the game. He's got to protect. It's his throwing arm. Landry Jones comes in. They got no chance whatsoever. So are they going to be able to compensate? No. Plus, Roethlisberger has played awful on the road this year. That's been kind of left out. Nobody's been talking about. Sponsored this first segment, John Elway Chevrolet. John Elway Cadillac of Park Meadows, Colorado's number. It's John Elway Chevrolet, John Elway Cadillac. Try them both out. John Elway.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, You don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
For our Players' Choice pizzas, we made the NFL players' favorite pizzas. Now you can eat like an NFL player.
If I can eat like a football player, I can talk like one, I can work out like one, I can even dress like one.
Look, you can eat the pizza. You just can't steal my shorts.
Up your game with any large specialty pizza, including Players' Choice pizzas. Only $12 each.
Better ingredients, better pizza
Better football.
at the new papajohns.com.
Mark Kiszla, Woody Paige, this is the Sports Show, and you get involved. You can tweet us at the Sports Page. What do I keep saying that? The Sports Show. You can tweet us at the Sports Show. You can go to our Facebook page. That's the Sports Show, or you can join us on Skype if you got a strong opinion at @_sports @sports_show.
Got it.
This is Mark Kiszla. I got that right. And I'm Woody Paige. I get that right some of the time. Broncos have played this. I looked at this again this morning, and you and I have talked about previous games, some of the previous games, but they played them 9 times. People don't consider this a rivalry, but they haven't played anybody else.
This is the 9th time they played the Steelers in the playoffs?
Yeah, from 1977, so a period of from 1977 to 2016, if I'm somewhat correct, that's 40 years or so. They played them, this will be the 9th time. That's by far, I mean, people tend to think of the New England Patriots because they've had big games against the Patriots. But they haven't played anybody as many times as the Steelers, and they've all been good, close games. The Broncos have won there. I think the Broncos lead the series 5-3 because the games have been here. They've won once in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has won once here. Is this really more of a rivalry than people kind of think? Are the players aware that it's even a historically important series?
I think it's an important series over the last 40 years because when you're formulating that question, I got to thinking, over the last 40 years, those are probably the 2 most consistently outstanding franchises, at least on the AFC side. And that's why they've played so often, because they keep on bumping into each other. Now, I'll give you the Patriots the last 15 years. I can give you that as being the most outstanding franchise in pro sports. But there's a lot of history with this Steelers franchise. And for that reason, I think the fans of Denver get a little more fired up about it, and the fans of Denver don't want to see that terrible towel in their stadium because they've seen. You got it upside down, buddy, but that's all right.
It's a towel.
It's a towel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Man. but I think it's a big rivalry to the fans.
Pardon
I
me.
really do.
Plus, and I've said this before, I'll repeat it, it's always worth repeating. You've addressed it topically this week. Pittsburgh people moved away from Pittsburgh when the steel mills closed. When Pittsburgh played glass, kind of struggled. And they moved all over the world. And they made it, they ingrained it in their kids' heads. You will be a Steelers fan no matter where you are, Alaska, Arizona, New Guinea. There are a lot of Pittsburgh fans. I went before the last playoff game, 2011.
Yeah.
I went out to a bar out in Lakewood or someplace.
Yeah.
Southwest. There were 1,000 people there. They were spilled over in the parking lot. They're everywhere. And you and I talked about how you didn't want Broncos people selling their tickets to the Steelers. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they're doing it quietly.
It's money.
They've gone to Hawaii with the money or something. You saw it the last time that in 2005, prior to that 2011 game, the place was packed with Steelers fans. I think this is an important rivalry. I think that it's been a good one. I think it's been good for. They played in the 70s. Both teams were good late in the 70s. The Steelers were the steel curtain. They played in the 80s. The Broncos went to 3 Super Bowls in the 80s. They played in the 90s. The Broncos won 2 Super Bowls in the 90s. Pittsburgh, I think, won another one during there. They played in 2005. You talked about that this week. They played in the 2010s. As far as I know, they played in every decade. So you're right. The Rooney family, the Pat Bowlen family, I'll go back to the Phipps brothers, late in their careers as the owners of the team. So they've been 2 great organizations. I think Emmanuel Sanders would tell you that he played for 2 great organizations in his career. So I think when you consider the coaching, Tomlin, consistent coaching there, Chuck Noll, we talked about it, Bill Cowher, they've been consistent. Defense has always been strong. When the Broncos have been strong defensively, they've been good. Broncos are 11-12. This is another interesting thing. I looked it up today. 11-12 in first playoff games. That includes
their opening playoff
wild card games.
Yeah.
That includes after a bye week. That's not very good. That's kind of like Peyton Manning's record.
Right. And
why do you think that is?
I like the idea of why has he been one and done 9 times and twice in the last 3 years? I think that if you're in the Broncos situation where you have the bye, you're almost always playing one of those teams that's hot at the end of the year, that's playing its best football at playoff time. And I think that combined with the idea is in that first game, I think coaches just try to survive in advance rather than go out and win the game.
I'm going to give you a little credit here. You made a point earlier in the year about in the playoff games you play good teams. And I'm not putting you down for that. That sounds almost you have to outscore a team to beat a team. But Peyton Manning's a lot like great tennis players.
Right.
They pile up some great numbers against lousy teams.
Right.
That Peyton Manning doesn't lose to crappy teams.
No.
So I don't have the stats here. I'm not that big a stat freak, but I'm always curious that if you looked 186 regular season victories, that out of those probably, I mean, I know, for instance, 16 of them are against the Houston Texans.
Right.
He's rarely lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. He piled up some great numbers against lousy teams. He probably won 130 of those games against. So he's probably a 500 player when you think about it against really good teams. That doesn't make him any different, I think, than any other coach.
There are no slouches in the playoffs.
Yeah. So
when you get to the final 8,
in the 2 games here, three games here, that were opening playoff games. Baltimore was hot. Manning didn't play well.
Right.
In the second game, second year, he played well against San Diego. He played well against
But that was
New
a
England.
difficult game, too. That was a game that they didn't take control of until the fourth quarter.
Last year, he didn't play well. But I went back and looked. I would say he's responsible for about 3 or 4 of the losses that you could put it on Peyton Manning.
In his
the Super
one and
Bowl.
dones.
In his history.
Oh, in his playoff history.
In the Super
Gotcha.
Bowl, he threw the interception, a really critical Kevin Porter from New Orleans. But again, Sean Payton did an onside kickoff that kind of confused Indianapolis. He threw an interception in the second overtime against Baltimore.
Yes, he did.
He
right
was
before
playing
the field goal.
He was playing poorly at the end of last year. In most all of the rest of the games that they've lost, I looked, he had really lousy teams surrounding him, like John Elway when he went to Super Bowl 3 times. This segment brought to you by Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, the premier men's. So, to my final point, I wanted to make it because I didn't end with a good thing there, that if Peyton Manning plays well, doesn't make mistakes, Broncos win the game. Rocky, that's the point he's making. If he plays poorly, they're not going to win the game. Doesn't matter what the defense does. If he throws 3 interceptions, they lose the game. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, the premier men's health clinic in Colorado. Made a call to the guys over there a couple of days ago. They didn't have time for me. Not have time for me to come in. They didn't have time to talk to me. Why? Because they were working with you people. My friends over there, they were doing their job. They didn't have time to talk on the phone because they are doing the job of taking care of you with your health and specifically your sex life. Reclaim the fun, excitement, and intimacy of sex that you had in college through a unique program that focuses on the individual patient. I don't know why I said that. I didn't have fun and excitement in college. You'll find a comfortable, relaxing environment where you can sit back, watch ESPN or this show, get Colorado licensed, experienced medical providers who are focused on men's sexual health. And they're also bringing in a new doctor who is profoundly respected throughout the country. RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com, 720-440-7900.
Is a lack of intimacy at home starting to affect your performance on the course? There are many factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol that may be contributing to your erectile dysfunction. Get back in the game with one visit to Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, offering same-day solutions for all erectile dysfunction and premature issues. And you get to try the medications containing FDA ingredients right in their office. Let the providers at Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic help you get your confidence back. And be sure to ask about the $99 limited time special. Call today.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Let's get right to the picks.
Please, let's do.
Chiefs and Patriots. Houston has been hobbled. He hobbled out of the last game against the Texans. Macklin may not play. There are questions about that. The Chiefs going with an 11-game winning streak. The Patriots have lost 4 out of 6. They've had real health problems. They got a guy smoking synthetic weed. Who you got in this game?
I go back to the idea of a year ago. The Patriots had their biggest crisis after getting blown out by the Chiefs. So the Chiefs match up pretty well against the Patriots. I think the Chiefs right now, well, I know they're healthier than the Patriots despite Macklin's injury, despite Houston being uncertain. I think they're a better team than the Patriots, but I don't think they believe that they're better. And this game, the setup for this game aggravates me because I think the Chiefs will walk into Foxborough, get psyched out, and lose the game.
I'm not going to agree with you. I've gone back and forth on this, but I see Tom Brady throwing for 350 yards. I see him in one of those games. It's not going to be against Miami where they run the ball, and try to play 4 corners, Dean Smith kind of offense. Edelman's back in the lineup. You got comfortable. Gronkowski, there was some questions about his health earlier in the week. He's going to come up big. They've got a couple of backup tight ends that they can sneak into the offense. I don't see them back where they were. They got a bad offensive line, but Brady, like Manning, gets the ball off quickly. I think he throws 50 times. If they throw everything else out the window and say, we're going to go full bore with our passing attack, and the Patriots win the game.
Packers at Cardinals. Who you got?
I got the Arizona Cardinals. I've been on them all year long. I think they're going to end up in the Super Bowl. I know you disagree with me, but Arizona playing at home. Carson Palmer as a starting quarterback with Arizona. I'm not going to give you this exact stat, but the last time I looked at it, he was 18-4. I imagine he's about 24-6. As a starter there. When they have him in the lineup with that defense, with a coach that's been named Coach of the Year twice in the last two out of the last 3 years, they've got new grass there. We saw it in the national championship game. I just love Arizona. They won by 30. Everybody says those Redskins are better, but the thing is, they played Washington. I mean, not the that Green Bay's better because Tom Brady, because Aaron Rodgers played well last week. That's a small sampling of what they've been doing the second half of the year. Give me Arizona to win pretty easily.
Okay, I have the Cardinals. I'll put it 90% chance of winning this game. Overwhelming favorite in this game. Green Bay's 10% chance is Aaron Rodgers way outplaying Carson Palmer. And as you said, Carson Palmer's played very well for the Cardinals. So Aaron Rodgers would have to play out of his mind for Green Bay to have any chance, and that could happen, but I don't think it's going to happen.
And to add to your 10%, Carson Palmer's played in 2 playoff games, and one of them he got carried off after the first play. So he is not playoff experienced, and he lost the other game. Seahawks at Panthers, I know who you got. Why are the Seahawks going to go in and beat a team that could have been undefeated all year long?
You just brought up playoff experience. I don't think Cam Newton is – I think he's a great player. I know that he did very well in college in big games, but this is his first opportunity to be the number 1 seed quarterback against a team that's had a lot of success in recent years, has a real good swagger to it, and loves the opportunity to go in and play Cam Newton. I do think this is a pretty close to a toss-up game, though. I'm picking the Seahawks, but I also have to admit, I think they have about a 55% chance to win this game. It's a tight game.
Both the New England and the New England Kansas City game and the Carolina Seattle game are close, virtually pick-it kind of games. They're both really close, and so you can go either way here. I've been leaning toward the Panthers all week. I have joined you.
What?
And for the sake of the show, it'd been good for me to argue with you, but I just come back to Seattle is playing well now. Minnesota, you go, well, they only won 10-9. They got Marshawn Lynch back. He's rested. I like rested players. I like that defense. I like the way Russell Wilson's playing. It's going to be a nice day. It's not going to be like in Minnesota. Every time I look at this game, plus I'm going to tell you, deep down, I want Seattle and the Broncos to play again in the Super Bowl.
The big one, Steelers at the Broncos. Who you got and what's your score?
I'm taking the Broncos. I think it's been pretty evident. I try to be both objective and subjective. I try to remove that. When I say I am both objective and subjective.
I saw you blow your nose in a terrible towel.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's going to be a blowout.
Really?
I see the Green Bay game all over again. I just think Pittsburgh's too beat up. The Broncos have too much motivation. They're not going to look past them like they did the Colts last year. The defense is going to be healthy enough to shut down Roethlisberger. I can see 2 or 3 interceptions. I see Brandon Marshall being back to nearly full health. I think that Peyton Manning is going to have a hell of a good game. I think the running game's going to be good. I think Julius Thomas is motivated to play extremely well. Emmanuel, if they'd have thrown to him in the second half, he'd have had as many catches as Antonio Brown last time. He is bound and determined to beat this team. He wasn't allowed to beat them in Pittsburgh. Give me the Broncos. I'm saying 34-14.
34-14. Wow. I got one question for you. Is Michael Schofield still on this team?
Yes, he is.
The offensive line stinks. And Peyton Manning is old. And the Broncos should whoop the Steelers. I think they will beat the Steelers, but I don't think it will be easy. Like the team that went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, they didn't have an easy game against San Diego. They won the game, but it wasn't easy.
You're right.
I think the Broncos will find a way to survive in advance, but I think there'll be more nervous moments than you believe we will see on Sunday. Give me Broncos 23-16 with the game being a game at the outset of the fourth quarter.
This segment brought to you by John Elway Cadillac of Park Meadows. It's right next to the Park Meadows shopping mall. It's convenient to get to. It got a great selection, and my mom always told me that, son, you're nobody if you don't have a Cadillac. John Elway Cadillac.
Go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Sports Show with Woody Paige and Mark Kiszla. Let's talk about the coaching carousel. There's already been 6 new coaches hired in the NFL. Who fails first? Who does the best of the 6 new dudes?
I got to put a caveat in there. There's still some questions of whether the 49ers are keeping Kaepernick. I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to keep him with Chip Kelly coming in there. I think Chip Kelly can kind of reproduce what he did in Philadelphia in a tough division. I think he can win 10 games next year. They got a lot of cap space. I think he can rehabilitate Kaepernick. I think that's going to end up being the best hire in the short run. I think the best hire in the long run is Adam Gase. I think he'll be able to turn Tannehill into a good quarterback. If he were able to do it with Cutler, he's now got a guy with a good attitude anyway, and that's a good defense in Miami. So I think that worst coaching hire, I think that in Cleveland, they think they've gotten something. Well, they still don't have any players, so I think that's going to be.
Hugh Jackson's in trouble then.
Yeah, Hugh Jackson didn't. Forgive me, but Hugh Jackson didn't do a very good job at Oakland.
I've got 2 different ones. Philadelphia, Doug Peterson. Let's bring home a guy that wasn't very important to our franchise. Doesn't sound like it's going to work to me. And the best hire, I'm not sure it's the best hire, but it's a hire that's going to take off, is Dirk Cutter, because he had a relationship with his rookie quarterback, and he got the job because he made Jameis Winston reliable and dangerous. And I can't believe I'm saying this, Tampa Bay's a team on the way up.
I would just add to that, though, I think he's one of those career
coordinator types.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
gotcha.
he's finished second in so many different job opportunities, and it's almost like he doesn't want to, that he has to take this head coaching job. Shanahan loses out to Chip Kelly. Will he ever get another job?
I tend to think no, and I was talking to somebody about this today. Shanahan lost the job in Miami to Adam Gase, and I get that. The ownership says, we'll go with the young, enthusiastic, next genius guy. But if you lost out to Chip Kelly's one of the hardest people to work with in America. And if you lost out to that, they must think that you're difficult to work with.
I think Mike Shanahan, to get another job ever, it could happen, he's got to change the way he interviews. He's interviewed for a lot of jobs since he lost the Washington job, and he doesn't get any of them. He gets to pass the first round, he gets another sniff, and then he loses out to Chip Kelly. You would have thought that San Francisco would have looked back in their record book and go, man, when he was here, look at the offense we had.
Sure.
Bill Walsh, he trained under Bill Walsh. He had his own philosophies. He trained Gary Kubiak. He won with Steve Young. Let's try and reproduce that. He won two Super Bowls in Denver. He won a Super Bowl here as an offensive coordinator. If he can't get that job, because what he doesn't want is he didn't want the Cleveland job. He wants a job that he thinks is an easy fix, because he doesn't want to spend another 3 years because he won't get that. No. We have a news break with Molly Hughes. We'll be back.
Hello, I'm Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom. One of 3 teenage boys who fell through the ice at a pond in Parker has died, and we've learned all 3 teens were students at Legend High School in Parker. Police got the call around 4:30 Thursday afternoon after a neighbor reported seeing a teenager struggling in the water. The first officer to arrive was able to extend a tree branch and pull that boy to the side of the pond. The other 2 males were underwater and not visible, so when fire crews arrived, rescue teams immediately put on their ice suits and went into the retention pond to search for them. One was found within minutes, but it took rescue workers another 35 minutes to find the 3rd boy, who ended up dying. No names or ages have been released. We know the first teen was treated and released from the hospital. The second teen remains in critical condition. Today is a scheduled day off at Legend High School, but grief counselors are there to help anyone who needs it. Today, flowers were laid near the pond, which runs near Legend High School. Investigators are still trying to piece together what happened. It's not clear why the boys went out onto the ice.
We like this segment, Trending Now. We have with us.
My name's Hugh Johnson. I'm a digital sports producer with the Denver Post, and this is What's Trending Now. Hey guys, Derek Wolfe began the season with a 4-game suspension. Now he ends the season with a 4-year contract extension. Guys, was this a good move by the Denver Broncos?
How much is it?
I neglected to.
Sorry?
$36.7 million.
Yeah, I'll take that. If it had been $75 million, I'd have gone no. $34 million, let's say $35 million, rounded out 4 years, that would be $9 million a year. I think he proved enough as a run stopper, sack man on occasion, good team player, gotten the suspension out of the way. That's a good tie-up, I think, for 4 years, and you're not committed probably beyond 2-3 years with him anyway. So I like that move.
4 years, $35 million tells me one thing. Going forward, the Broncos are going to be continued to be defined by their defense.
Alrighty. Earlier today, guys, ESPN reported that the Colorado Rapids were supposedly interested in goalkeeper Tim Howard. Our own Dan Boniface, who's a Rapids reporter, tried to get a comment from them, and they remained mum on the whole situation. Assuming that the ESPN report is true, guys, is Tim Howard a good fit for the Rapids?
I want to take this one because he's the
Tim Howard, don't you?
I know Tim Howard.
Yeah.
And Tim Howard is a great guy.
Yes, he is.
He has been the goaltender in the World Cup 3 times.
He's America's goaltender.
I think that is the name value guy you go after. He is a Peyton Manning, though, in terms of he's old. He's actually thinking about retiring. I don't think he'll be in another World Cup, but I think he would be a guy like Beckham for the Rapids in terms of drawing attention. And he's still a quality goaltender, but he is in the twilight of his career. But I like the move.
I love this player. He's the best player in U.S. history. No offense to our man Landon Donovan. This would have been a great move in 2010. My smartphones, however, says it's 2016.
Right.
He's 34, 35.
He's older than that.
Really?
My man. Yes, he is. He is Peyton Manning.
Yeah, so.
All right, guys, and now to a story that's trending nationally. Guys,
Good guy, though.
Last month, the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association sent an email to school officials across the state, encouraging them to crack down on unsportsmanlike chants from students such as airball at basketball games, scoreboard, and season's over. Many people have weighed in, calling this either a step in the right direction or coddling the younger generation. Guys, your thoughts?
If it were racial remarks, if it were family remarks, if it were scholastic remarks, scoreboard, airball, you're playing awful, those are acceptable remarks in any sports event. And I think students in America today, even though I don't like the young generation, I think
that's why I asked the question.
Get off my lawn!
I knew we'd get a good.
But here's what I think they're smart enough. As I was in college, the cheerleaders at Tennessee were told to stop using words hell and damn in their cheers. And so I came up with a cheer for them that they use the next week. Harass them, relieve them of the pigskin. I think the students are smart enough to say, gravity! I think they'll say, math matters. I think they'll figure out ways to get around the things. They made a list of these things you can't say. Well, you don't have to say scoreboard. You can say math matters. Look up. Gravity. Your ball didn't have enough gravity resistance.
I'm old school. Airball. You can't get rid of that tradition.
No. It's like saying when we were baseball, cut nut, or you play like a girl. I know that's
can't be saying
that. All right, guys, that's it for me.
And so who are you as you leave?
My name is Hugh Johnson. I'm a digital sports producer with the Denver Post. You can find me on Twitter at HughJohnsonDP. And that was what's trending now.
Our live guest, and he qualifies, appear courtesy of Papa John's the day after every Avalanche win. Should add that, nuggets on that. 50% off regular menu price online. So you go online. It's easy to order. Hugh and I have talked about how much we enjoy doing and building our own pizza. We are going to talk Mark into that maybe on the show one day. He may be doing it right now. Use the promo code AVS at thenewpapajohns.com.
When the Avs win, you win at Papa John's. All season long, the day after every Avs win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at papajohns.com by entering promo code AVS. That's right. Just enter promo code AVS online at papajohns.com the day after every Avs win for 50% off your entire online order.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Four on the floor.
Would the Broncos go out and get revenge against Steelers offensive lineman Cody Wallace, who decked?
He's kind of shirked it off this week, and we had the Damien Stewart of, we'll cut him if he comes out here, which I didn't think was a smart thing to say out loud. There hasn't been much trash talking. I guess that is about the extent of it this week. But I think that if Cody Wallace puts himself in a vulnerable position, that somebody will recognize that. He's the center for the Steelers, and he speared David Bruton Jr. I think if he's somewhere where he shouldn't be, like on a pass play and he's an offensive lineman downfield, I think somebody will take a shot at him.
My suggestion is this. If you want to get Cody Wallace, get him at the bottom of the pile. Don't get him out in the open where every ref can see it.
Big 12, the NCAA has ruled, even though they have 10 teams, and the rule in the NCAA is you have to have 12 teams in order to have a. You're smirking.
No, I didn't know this. I was like,
NCAA.
Go ahead.
NCAA has a rule.
Right, I got
you can't have a championship game unless you have 12 teams. They have made an exception for the Big 12. Do you think the Big 12 will now take a bite out of this and say, "Yep, we're going to have a championship game"?
I hope so, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to work. If you're trying to play everybody in the Big 12, which actually has 10, it's stupid, man. Go get two other teams.
Yeah, that's what they should do. Colorado State is a prime example, and Houston.
Right.
Colorado State's not a big market, but Houston is. They'd want two TV markets. I would think this. I don't think they should be allowed to play in the national Final Four unless they have a championship game. You can't really be a Power 5 conference if you're not playing a championship game. And
Oklahoma went to the Final Four and got crushed.
Yeah, and your argument is the right one. Your argument is what their argument is. We play everybody in the league,
right.
So we really have established that. But they've had They've had a tie 2 years ago. They've had ties. I think they need to determine a championship. That's what's going on in college football. Number 3. Raiders to San Antonio. Red McCombs, our old friend, who used to own the Denver Nuggets. He went on to own the Minnesota Viking. He's trying to make it happen. He's a car dealer, and he was a car dealer, and then he was a media magnate in San Antonio. Would the Raider Nation mystique be over if they're the San Antonio Raiders?
No, I don't think so. I've spent a lot of time in San Antonio, and I think the Raiders would fit well in San Antonio, to tell you the truth. But I don't think that either Dallas or Houston will allow it to happen. I think Jerry Jones would fight tooth and nail against having another team in Texas.
I hadn't thought about that for a moment. I think the right move by the Raiders, and I keep saying it over and over again, is to go down to San Diego. They've already tried L.A. Why not go to San Diego?
I like the way you think there.
For a lot of reasons.
Last question.
What's the reason for this question?
Because Von Miller got ill this week by eating cheese sticks at a movie theater food of choice. Popcorn, goobers, or cheese sticks.
Well, the reason why Goobers is in there is his good friend on the other side of the line said, "Hey, man, stick to popcorn and Goobers."
Yeah.
I like Goobers at the movie theater. I like those little sparkly chocolate things. But popcorn is the only thing in the world. You never go to a movie theater and order mozzarella sticks. He had an icy, too. An icy and mozzarella. Come on, Vaughn. Come on, man.
You know what? I'm going to make a confession here. The best theater snack is a Pabst Blue Ribbon. You sneak it in, you drink it, and then you roll it down, and everybody goes, "Where did that can come from?" I haven't done that in a long time, but I'm not ashamed to admit that I've done it.
You're onto something, but it's a Jack Daniels in a little bottle. Okay. You get a Diet Coke, and yeah. Four on the Floor is sponsored by Citywide Banks, a family-owned, Colorado-focused business bank. 12 locations across Denver and up in Boulder. Over 25 services that business need. A passionate supporter of over 150 Colorado charities each year. We do our banking with Citywide. There's a reason why, because they're the best.
I am Citywide Banks.
I am Citywide Banks.
At Citywide Banks,
we put you first by exceeding your service expectations every day.
Every day.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
During the course of this season, we've had a lot of guests on this TV program, and Ed doesn't know it's a TV program. We've had a lot of guests on this TV program, but the best we've had was before the Pittsburgh game, Ed Bouchette, Hall of Fame selector for the longest time, didn't invent the terrible towel, but has kept the tradition alive, Myron Copes, and answered great questions for us last time, but was wrong about the outcome of the game, so we're going to give him another chance. Eddie B., hi there.
Hi, Woody, and I have to let you fellas know I'm under head cold protocol right now. I've been off the last couple days, and if I don't practice, if I don't write something today, they might not let me go to Denver.
What would you write today? Give us a preview of what you think you will write between now and the weekend. You haven't ever had that question.
Actually, Woody, I'm not going to write anything. I'm done writing. But what I did write for Sunday was Ben Roethlisberger versus Peyton Manning. They played 4 times. Peyton is 3-1 against him, both in Indy and in Denver, and they've avoided playing him a couple times because this year was obvious an injury. But the one time they did beat him was in this wild card round in Indianapolis, with Indianapolis heavily favored.
Yeah,
it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's odd that Peyton Manning has only played Aaron Rodgers 3 times in his career, and you just brought up Roethlisberger. Is there somebody that Roethlisberger, Elway almost never played Marino. I think it was twice in his entire career. Is there somebody that Roethlisberger doesn't play against?
Doesn't play against, or doesn't play well against? Doesn't
Rare.
play against.
Some great quarterback. That's a tough question.
It'd probably be somebody from the other conference, but he has played Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl, and he's played him in Green Bay and in Pittsburgh. Drew Brees he's played. Phillip Rivers he's played a number of times. Eli Manning he's played a number of times. So, no, among his contemporaries, I can't think of any, Woody.
Roethlisberger's known for being out there no matter what the ailment. How much Roethlisberger will we see? How much do you think he's got?
That's the question of the hour. The fact he came back in that game in Cincinnati, I thought was a good note for his playing in Denver. And we all knew he wasn't going to practice Wednesday and Thursday, and that he was going to try it on Friday, and by all accounts, he did well today. Threw some deep. Mike Tomlin said he made all the throws he wanted him to make, and now he's shut down for another 2 days, as everybody else is. So I think he's going to be okay. Is he going to be 100%? No. Peyton Manning's not going to be 100%, but I think he'll be able to make the throws he has to make. And, of course, there'll be those magic painkillers they give him the morning of the game as well.
Ed, you told us before the game in Pittsburgh that the Pittsburgh secondary was bad, and it was in the first half, and they made some adjustments even though Mike Tomlin didn't say it. The Broncos intend to run. The Steelers' priority is to stop the run. The Steelers have a bad secondary. The Broncos have a great secondary. The Broncos' biggest problem is against the run. How do you see this all coming down then? Who is what is going to do against the other who?
Well, I think with Antonio Brown out, with them now on their third and fourth running backs, even though they did pretty decent against Cincinnati last week, I think the edge goes to more than an edge. I think the favorites role is with Denver, as the odds makers have made them 7-point favorites. I think I agree with that. But do we know what Peyton Manning is going to show up? That's the thing too. I mean, is the Peyton of the 0.0 passer rating with 4 interceptions in his last start going to show up, or is the Hall of Famer going to play? Do you guys know? I don't know. I would think the Steelers are going to try and run it. They're going to throw a lot of short passes from a shotgun formation, and I think Denver knows that. The Steelers are going to try and stop the run game. It's what they've always done. It doesn't matter if they're playing Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Tom Brady. That's their number one goal. And then if they can stop the run, they know that the other guy is going to pass a lot, and they'll put up with that.
How much respect do you think the Steelers' defensive game plan will show Peyton Manning? My advice would be go right after him, dare him to go deep on you, load the box. But do you think they will believe that he could have a Hall of Fame-like performance?
I think they're going to respect him and see what he has. That would be my opinion. I don't know that they'll drop 2 safeties. I think that maybe they'll have one. They want to stop the run game. They'll bring that other one up. And if Peyton wants to go deep, let's see if he can do it. That kind of thing. But when they say they want to stop the run first, it sounds like blasphemy when you're playing against Peyton Manning. But I could tell you that was probably their goal back 10 years ago when they played him in the playoffs in Indianapolis. Their first goal was to stop the run.
Yeah, everybody, including me, have always called Peyton the most cerebral quarterback in the history of the league. But truthfully, when he sees 2 safeties, he runs the football. When he sees 1 safety, he passes the football. And even I can figure out. I mean, that's really when you start with Peyton Manning and him diagnosing a defense at what happened. How does Pittsburgh win this game? By the way, Ed, the line went up, was posted this morning at 7, and it went up to 7.5 within about an hour. So it's I think it's rising, but after 7.5, it really doesn't mean anything until you get to like 10 or something anyway. So
yeah, it doesn't surprise me, Woody, that the line is climbing. Like I said, I think the Broncos have a big edge here. They would have a big edge if everybody was healthy. I mean, look what they did with Brock Osweiler in Pittsburgh in that first half. I mean, my God, they were killing the Steelers. That was one of the biggest flip-flop games I've seen between first and second half in a long time. And the Broncos weren't healthy. They didn't have their defensive backs all in that game. So I really think, I'm going to pick the Broncos. I mean, how can you not?
Yeah, I think the Steelers won the game they really wanted to win last week, and I think the Broncos are so determined to win this game, and you're right. They stopped running the ball in the second half. They stopped throwing it to Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, it's pretty simple what was going on there. I feel better, Ed. We want to see you on Sunday. It's going to be nice here. It's going to be about 73.
And I will tell you one thing. Since '05, every time the Steelers have won a playoff game, they've reached the Super Bowl. '05, '08, 2010. And every other time since then, they've lost their opener. So if you believe in any kind of signs, which a lot of Steelers fans do, there's another one.
It's tough to lose your first playoff game and go to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Yes, it is. But what I'm saying is they don't lose the divisional games. They don't lose the AFC title games. At least they don't lately. They used to do it a lot in the 90s.
Broncos are 15-5 at home. They're 5-3 against the Steelers. Oddly enough, these two teams, the Broncos have played the Steelers more than anybody else in football in the playoffs. And we really appreciate it. Thanks again for rejoining us.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Feel good. Live guests appear courtesy of Papa John's. Order Papa John's Broncos 18 special today. 2 large, 3-topping pizzas for $18 using the promo code online of Broncos 18 at thenewpapajohns.com.
For our Players' Choice Pizzas, we made the NFL players' favorite pizzas. Now you can eat like an NFL player.
If I can eat like a football player, I can talk like one. I can work out like one. I can even dress like one.
Look, you can eat the pizza. You just can't steal my shorts.
Up your game with any large specialty pizza, including Players' Choice Pizzas. Only $12 each.
Better ingredients, better pizza.
Better football.
At thenewpapajohns.com.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Our pick 6 to close out the week, and we remind you that Mark Kiszla has picked the Broncos to beat the Steelers something on the order of 23-17 or something.
23-16.
And I picked the Broncos to blow out the Steelers. I think this is going to be reminiscent of the Green Bay game. 6 bold predictions for this weekend's divisional playoff round, the 4 games. What's going to happen? What is going to be something that you hadn't thought about that will happen? Number 5. Number 5.
Maybe you should start with 6.
McManus will miss a field goal. He's not a pressure kicker. He's more of a pressure cooker than a pressure kicker. Colquitt will shank a punt, or as Mark Kiszla liked to say, he will duck hook it. Number 5, the Broncos will intercept 3 Big Ben passes. I think they're going to get in a situation.
There's your route right there.
Well, when they get behind, he's going to have to throw the football. He's got no running game. They're not a good come-from-behind team, except they did it against Cincinnati, but they were close. So if you're right there, but I think the defensive backs and the linebackers going to have a big game against him. The phrase "big tight end" will be spoken by announcers 43 times. This is one of my pet peeves. Nobody ever says small tight end because they're all big tight ends. Number 3, Cam Newton will not score a touchdown against the Seattle Seahawks and be able to do his Superman or his dance or
his dab.
Repeat a haiku. Number 2, Brady will throw for more than 350 yards. I've said that. I think he's going to throw it 55 times. And number 1, the officials will blow calls in every game. One will determine an outcome. We have learned in the last day or so that when they signaled the Washington with 12 men on the field, there was only actually 11 men. They're getting things wrong all the time. Mark Kiszla, finish it off.
Number 6, unlike last week when 4 road teams won, only 1 road team will win this week. The apology of Pac-Man Jones to Antonio Brown won't go over well. Number 4, the fans of the Packers and the Cardinals will claim that Chris Collinsworth hates both their teams, because that's how fans are. Number 3, I will eat too many cookies in the press box. That's a shocker.
And popcorn.
Yeah, and popcorn. Number 2, say goodbye to the number 1 seed in the NFC. That tells you Seattle will be the road team to win. And number 1, one of the ones that's really important, this year Peyton Manning won't go one and done.
What a great way to finish. We hope you enjoy the weekend. 2 games each day. Have fun. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. And we finish off today with a news break with Molly Hughes. Wow.
Hello, I'm Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom with news that Denver-based Chipotle restaurant will shut down every single restaurant for several hours on February 8th so the fast casual chain can hold a company-wide employee meeting. It is all part of Chipotle's recovery strategy after a rash of foodborne illnesses sickened more than 300 people across the country over the last 5 months. Chipotle says all of its stores will open at 3 o'clock on February 8th instead of 11 a.m., so all of its employees can participate in that meeting. That means all Chipotle stores will be closed through the lunch hour on February 8th. The company says at that meeting it will thank its employees who have worked through a very difficult time, as well as take any questions the workers have. Chipotle will also use that meeting to discuss new food safety practices that are being rolled out company-wide in light of the foodborne illness outbreak. The recovery plan for Chipotle also includes a marketing plan aimed at winning back customers. That will start in February.